stands out about your story is the fact that you had 8 offers from different companies and you chose to start up.
Because we were willing to take the risk. Every other company that I got offered were bigger companies, so like 300 to 500 employees, maybe more. A startup at the time had less than 100 employees. At the time, I was freaking out. I was like, okay, I'm gonna lose my job. This is horrible, right? But he just shared his story with me. He apparently made a mistake. It cost the company 40 grand, but it gave them more value in the sense that they knew what to not do next time in the future. So yeah, I learned a lot from that one mistake, and I think I'll remember that for the rest of my life. But I do really think I resonate a lot with data science, machine learning. It's a growing industry. AI is booming. Machine learning is needed.
Hello and welcome to the Tech Certified podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Only Certified, and this is the podcast where we interview tech creators and tech professionals who inspire us on our journeys in the tech industry. I'm so pleased to have today's guest on this episode today. And so far on this podcast, it's really been cloud and cybersecurity and software development. Today, we have someone who's bringing a different topic to the table. Today, Ranesh is a data scientist and YouTuber who shares his journey online along with some amazing tips on getting into the industry. How are you doing today, Ranesh?
Doing great, man. Thank you. I've been watching your videos for a while now. It's pretty nice finally meeting you. And yeah, thank you for what you do. I think, like I said before, it's untapped industry. I feel like you shining light on this topic is something much needed. So yeah, appreciate it.
Amazing. Thanks so much for being here. And first things first, I'll just get you to give an introduction about yourself and just tell the audience a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm Ranesh. I also make content on YouTube. I think we started off somewhere around the same time. So it's been really nice seeing your transparency throughout the whole process. I appreciate having that similar start time so we can kind of see how we've been growing. But yeah, I'm Ranesh. I'm a data scientist in the US. I'm from Malaysia. I came here about 3 years ago to study computer science and data science. And then shortly after, I started working at this tech startup, and I'm still working there today. So yeah, that's my long story short.
Amazing. Yeah, I remember back when I first saw your channel and you were on like 1,000 something or like 2,000, and it's great to see like someone that's like on the same journey. So it's been really cool watching your journey and going on mine at the same time. So cool. Like, let's start off by getting you to give a brief walkthrough of your journey in getting into data and in your career so far.
Yeah. So I guess it starts in my senior year in high school. I really got into coding around that time. I started off with Python, those like 6-hour tutorials on YouTube. I started off with one of those. And then from there, I decided, I really want to get into this. So I told my parents, and then I got enrolled in a CS degree back home. It was a transfer degree, so I did 2 years in Malaysia and I did 2 years here. But yeah, during that time, I was very into. This was around COVID, so I was very into just building stuff on my own at home. I would spend hours and hours just trying to build random things like tic-tac-toe, chess, whatever it may be. And at the time, my goal was to become a software engineer. And then I think a year later, I got some work experience freelancing, and I really kind of found out that, maybe that's not for me, just because I wasn't really able to give much input in terms of business decisions. If the direction for the company was to build this feature, although maybe there wasn't any data backing that feature, you just have to build it. And then if it fails, it fails. If it succeeds, great, we'll move on. And that's kind of when I was like, okay, there's something missing here that I want to do. The impact component. So that's when I started looking, and I found data. That's my first introduction to data. I sat on it for a while, but I felt like it was too deep to commit. So I just continued with CS. And then when I transferred to the US, a lot of the credits that I took back home didn't really get transferred. So I decided, you know what, this is probably the best opportunity I have to fully commit to data science. So that's what I did. I started registering for new classes. I took this course on Coursera. It's called the Google Data Analytics certification. Just so I can get like a high level overview of what to expect and learn some tools that they use. And then I just fell in love. I took the course, did 2 projects within the course, and just started shooting off from there. Did a lot more projects, built my web portfolio online, and then I decided, I'm gonna try and land an internship in my senior year. So I really committed. I applied to over 300 jobs. I got, I think, hundreds of rejections. I think 50% of my applications were rejected automatically or just no response. And then I interviewed at dozens of companies, and ultimately I landed, I think, 8 offers at the time.
Wow.
So it was really overwhelming. Yeah, it was overwhelming and also really great. But I decided to pick the startup just because there was a lot of opportunity there that I saw, and the people I met during the interview process were great people, really, really skilled people. Uh, and I just felt like there was a lot of room to grow. So I chose the startup. And then a year later, here I am. I'm a data scientist working at the same startup. I
Wow.
got promoted twice in the span of a year, and I've been sharing my journey the whole time. So
Wow, that's an amazing story. And the thing that stands out about your story is the fact that you had 8 offers from different companies and you chose the startup.
yeah,
Amazing,
it was
amazing. So
it was the lowest paying.
it was the
Sorry, yeah, it was
lowest paying offer.
Yeah. So at the time, me and my wife decided to go for the startup just because we were willing to take the risk.
Hmm.
Every other company that I got offered were bigger companies, so like 300 to 500 employees, maybe more. The
Yeah.
startup at the time had less than 100 employees. So I knew, or I had hope from the start, that career projection at the startup would be much better. And as an international student in the US, uh, I guess job security meant more than salary for me. So we ultimately decided on a startup. But yeah, as you were saying, the 8 offers thing, that was really, really, I think it was a different time back then. The market was a lot different.
Mm.
But yeah, this is one of my first few videos. And I think maybe that was the video you clicked on, or one of those
Yeah.
videos.
Amazing. Wow, that's pretty cool. And what's the well, I guess it was a startup that you started working at first, but I don't know who would be the perfect person to compare the differences between working at a startup and a bigger company. But what do you think are the benefits of just working at a startup and a smaller firm?
For sure. A lot of the people who I work with right now came from bigger companies. Some are just like startups their whole career. Uh, the one thing that startups really do well is they allow you to grow, and they give you the freedom to do that. Like, you wear a lot of hats. I've dabbled in data science, data analytics, data engineering, software engineering. So a lot of different domains. But with startups, there's also that growing pain where you're trying to push a lot of stuff out, you're trying to grow, but we don't have that much staff. So we're trying to do something that a company of 500 people would do, but we only have like about 100 people. So you're working a lot, you're doing a lot of new things, you're making a lot of mistakes, stuff like that.
Amazing. And I can say as well, I have worked at a much smaller company with like 60 people. And then from that company, moved on to a massive company with like 60,000 people. And the differences are incredible. And I can say for the smaller company that I worked at, it was definitely a lot more responsibility. And I definitely was dabbling in loads of different things that weren't exactly related to my job title or my role. So
Exactly.
I could say that was a really good benefit of working at a smaller firm. So moving on, I wanted to ask you about what a data analyst or data scientist really does and what that role actually looks like. I know over here we're big on cloud and cybersecurity, but we really want to understand as well what data scientists and data analysts are doing and what the role looks like.
Yeah, for sure. I think I can give some input. I started off as a data analyst intern, and at the time I was doing a lot of data analyst work. Uh, a lot of the stuff I would do was front facing, so towards the sales department or product. Essentially, they would need metrics to track, and I would help them, monitor those metrics, build dashboards, reports, automated stuff to send to their email, stuff like that. But on the data science side, I started off as a data scientist during my internship too. I worked with our director of data, who was a data scientist at NASA and a couple other big
Wow.
companies. So I had a lot to learn there from him. On that side, we really do a lot of data analytics, data engineering, but also machine learning. So predictive modeling, we kind of predict using data what might happen, classification problems, regression problems, also causation. A lot of the work I did as an intern was determining what was caused by a feature launch, or what was a correlation, not causation, stuff like that. Uh, and then there's data engineering. So one of my mentors was a data engineer, and during my time there, I learned a lot of data engineering skills. And there's a lot of crossover with cloud. I think in data engineering, I worked a lot with the cloud team, which was really nice because cloud ops and cloud tools are the future. I truly believe that. But yeah, data engineering, it's more so monitoring your warehouse, your data lake. For bigger companies, you have a lot of data that you need to store, transform, and manage. So that's why data engineers are needed. And I think it's a super underrated career path. I don't really see it in schools being taught, and I don't really see many data engineers out there. But they earn a lot of money, and if you know what to learn, I think it's a good career choice.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. And for you, what was the path? Was it, do you go from analyst to engineer to scientist, or how? What was your path?
So yeah, my title change went from analyst. I was an analyst intern for about a month and a half, and then I got an offer to become a full time data analyst while I was still in school finishing my degree. Uh, so I went to become a data analyst for about 4 months, 3 months, and then I got a promotion to become a data scientist, which I still am to this day. But in the meantime, we lost our data engineer. He moved to a different company, another startup. I still stay in touch with him today, but during that time, I was a data engineer and a data scientist. So I was working with machine learning and also fixing and maintaining our warehouse, our ETL pipeline, and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't regret it at all. I think the responsibilities, if you can take it, will push you to grow and learn and make mistakes that you need to make to learn more. So yeah.
Cool. No, that's amazing. And just to move on, I wanted to ask you a bit about some of the things I've been seeing on your channel. Um, been watching your channel and seeing, you've been showing the journey of an app you're creating and all the bits involved in doing that. I just wanted you to tell us a little bit about your app that you're creating and the whole process and journey of what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And I think it's kind of similar to your podcast, like how you pivoted to the podcast space. I was kind of I was plateauing. I felt like I was plateauing at work. I was plateauing with, content creation and learning outside of work. Just because, YouTube, it's a big responsibility. Takes a lot of time, and then you work 40 hours a week. So I wanted to kind of mesh both. I want to continue learning, and I also wanted to continue posting on YouTube, and I wanted to do things I was interested in, and I just wanted to go back to my roots. So building apps, something I used to do a lot, and I just felt like, at this time, a lot of people are struggling to find jobs. My brother, my family, friends, a lot of the graduates that I graduated with couldn't find a job. So I got very lucky. I was promoted internally, but I think if it was different, if I had to look for a job right now, the market is so bad in the US, or it's just a lot different from how I started. So yeah, I decided to incorporate some of my understanding of how things work, like the applicant tracking system, which is what a lot of the big companies in the US use to manage their applicants. I guess an average job here, for context, gets about 300 to 500 applications,
Mm.
and they need to filter that down to about 10, 20 people to interview. So yeah, a lot of people get automatically rejected. And I wanted to make an app to help job seekers like you and I, family, friends, and stuff like that, to kind of not get automatically rejected, improve their chances of landing their dream job, and make the whole process more streamlined and efficient. Basically, just use everything that I learned throughout my process and help them with that in an app. Uh, and I figured, you know what? The best thing I can do right now is just document the process, just because other people might be in similar shoes. They might be wanting to build this thing, but just need that little bit push. So yeah, that's what I did, and I've been doing that ever since. And I think it truly helped me stay away from burnout, and also truly helped me stay consistent with when uploading consistently into getting this app built, improving my skills and stuff like that.
Wow, no, that's amazing. That's really cool, and honestly, I could say in terms of the job market, it's not just the US, the UK over here as well. There's been a lot. Definitely been talking to people, and it's been a lot more difficult. Um, every role you look at on LinkedIn is like 100, 100 over. It says over 100 every time, and it's like that's normal now. That's the normal. Before you used to be
Yeah.
like over 100. Whoa, like that's crazy. But in today's world, it's like okay, over 100, pretty normal. And so this app that you're creating, I could definitely see like the value in it, and the actual problem that this app is solving. So that's amazing stuff. And so to move on to the next question, I wanted to talk about what's next for you. Career aspirations, goals, where you see yourself in 2, 3, 4 years from now in your career. I know for myself, whenever I think of this question, it's always a difficult one to answer because I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to keep learning and see where it takes me. Um, but for you, what is sort of the next steps for you for your career, or what you know of it at this point?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. My career is still very young, and my main goal is to learn. And I'm the type of person who gets like bored very quickly. So I pivoted from a data analyst to a data scientist, a data engineer, whatever. But I do really think I resonate a lot with data science, machine learning. It's a growing industry. AI is booming. Machine learning is needed. So I foresee myself being in this role for a while. But outside of that, I'm also looking to expand my skill set. I'm looking to take the AWS CCP Cloud Practitioner certification, just because I think cloud is a skill that's gonna be needed a lot in the next few years. So I'm gonna do that, and also probably continue just growing overall in terms of my side projects. I hope this app is able to help a lot of people and also help me grow skill wise, and hopefully build other apps in the future that cater more to businesses because I think that's more monetizable. B2B businesses I think is a no brainer compared to B2C, just because the market for B2B is a lot more scalable. But yeah, right now, I think those are my to dos or hopes. But yeah, they can change at any time. I'm just that type of person who changes my mind very frequently. So
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I can see like you've had the opportunities to do different things in your career, which is great. I can say for myself, I've also done the same, like moving from sort of the infrastructure role to security, and changes coming soon, depending on when this episode is released, whether people will know or not. But yeah, definitely moving around quite a bit, and learning different things in my career. And I can see the way you've done that as well. I think it's all about learning, especially in this tech industry. So much is changing, and learning more and more is the only path you can really take, because you don't know what is going to come in the future. You've just got to keep learning, building your skills up. So yeah, I completely agree. We've just launched a free cloud engineer assessment to evaluate and assess your current skills on your path to becoming a cloud professional. Now, when you take this assessment, it provides some incredible recommendations for your path. And remember, this is completely free. It costs you nothing. It only helps you on your journey. So if this interests you and you are an aspiring cloud professional, definitely take this assessment. I'm going to leave a link to it. Here's an example of me taking it myself and getting some pretty good recommendations from my own assessment. So guys, check this out, and I hope this is really helpful. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Um, and speaking of sort of industry and career, I wanted to ask you this question, and I ask this question to most people that come onto the podcast. And this question is just about advice on getting into your industry. Um, I think there's loads of people, friends of mine personally, who are trying to get into data, whether it's data analytics or data science or whatever the case may be. And it would be really interesting to hear from you on what the best steps are, or what your best advice would be for someone who is trying to get into this industry. I could say, honestly, I have so many friends who they're not even in the tech industry, they're in completely different industries, but they really want to move from those industries into this data industry. So it'd be really helpful to hear your advice on how
yeah,
someone could break in.
for sure. Yeah, I think I tell people to just start, because
Mm.
chances are you've already had exposure to data. I think data is everywhere. If you analyze your finance sheet, or just do basic Excel stuff, that's data. It only goes up from there though. So if, let's say, you're comfortable doing Excel analysis, pivot tables, and stuff like that, maybe you're comfortable with small data sets, like your own data set. then try something new, try something different. Use census data, maybe a terabyte of data or something bigger. Then you're going to force yourself to have to use tools like programming languages. So you're going to force yourself to learn programming, and as long as you're continuously and consistently curious, you're going to keep growing. So just stay curious, and the next step, just focus on the next step. For me, when I first started, the next step was one, to learn the tools. So programming languages like Python or R. SQL is also a good language to learn. And then dashboards, creating dashboards was very in demand. I don't know why. Just at the time, everyone was making a tool to create dashboards. So I learned Tableau, I learned Power BI, and then now I learn Looker for my work. And then eventually it was AI. AI started booming, and machine learning was a needed skill. So I started learning machine learning. And I think one thing that I learned is, regardless of what new tool comes out, just don't fall into the shiny object syndrome or whatever it's called. I personally think as long as you got the foundation, you're good. So if you know how to aggregate data with Excel, if you know how to filter data, sort data, pivot data, you know what questions to ask. It doesn't matter what tool you use to answer those questions. You can learn the tool very easily. It's the hard thing is to how the questions to ask and how you're getting there. So if you know the process in your head, I could do that in Excel. I could do that in a tool like SQL or a programming language like Python. It doesn't really matter. It's just what you're comfortable with and what you're able to learn. So yeah, just start. That's my best advice, I think.
Yeah, yeah, amazing, and I agree with that so much. I think it's always a big jump, starting something new, and I think that's the reason people really hold off from just jumping in and just doing it. Um, do your research and find the opportunities and be curious and just go for it. I think that's some common advice that a lot of people that have come on here have given for people, jumping in and getting started in whatever industry. And it's really helpful, all of the tech that you've mentioned for those who are starting and trying to get into data specifically as well. So
For
thanks for
sure.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at you now. You've started by pushing your first YouTube. I assume back then it wasn't easy. You probably had
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of thoughts, and then look at you now, 11K subs, hundreds, thousand views. Like, it's insane, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. And when you put it like that, it's funny because when I started, it was just like in terms of YouTube, and we'll get more deep into that. But it was just the thing, It's just I just do this, and then I saw the growth, and I was like, do you know what? I should really do a lot more. I can see the value people are getting, but we'll get into content later. One
Sounds good.
question I wanted to ask you before that is just about one interesting story from your career. And I've asked everyone this that has come on here, and I want to hear from you as well. So I want to hear one interesting story from your career, and it could be interesting as in it was really good, this was amazing, or it could be interesting, yeah, this wasn't great, this was bad, this was terrible, this was an L, or whatever,
Yeah,
whichever one you want to go with. So what's one interesting career story if you have one?
for sure. Yeah, I think so. I learn best through mistakes, and I make a lot of mistakes. And this one was, at the time, it was very scary for me. I was getting to this new role, data science, and I was productionizing my first model. Essentially, I was implementing a machine learning algorithm or model that was going to be deployed in our app. So a lot of risk, a lot of reward. But I made a mistake during the testing phase. I didn't tear down the resources. I guess in machine learning terms, you're deploying an endpoint so that people can send data to your endpoint. I didn't tear down the endpoint, which can cost a lot of money. So I didn't find out till like about a month later that I forgot to tear down the resources, and the cost that was charged, I think, came close to a couple grand,
Damn.
which to a company was not big, but to me, that was at the time I was like, okay, this is big. So my boss just had a conversation with me, and he just said, "Hey, next time, just remember to tear it down." And then he shared. At the time, I was freaking out. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna lose my job. This is horrible, right?" And but he just shared his story with me. He apparently made a mistake. It cost the company 40 grand, but it gave them more value in the sense that they knew what to not do next time in the future. And he said if they're investing 40 grand in him, the chances of him being let go is very low, just because they've already spent money making sure he doesn't make the mistake again, and hiring someone new to teach that can be costly. So yeah, I learned a lot from that mistake, that one mistake, and I think I'll remember that for the rest of my life. Currently, I have an intern, and she is very afraid of making mistakes, and I try my best to reassure them, like, hey, it happens. I've made a ton of mistakes. And I guess it's great because I documented my journey, and all my mistakes are out there on the internet for people to see. So yeah, I guess if you make people more comfortable, they're a lot less worried of making the mistake, and they probably won't make the mistake. So yeah, I think that story will stay with me forever, I think.
Wow, amazing. And you know what it is? Like, mistakes are normal. We're all human, right? And
For sure.
and I can definitely say, like, I've had countless mistakes in my career and just had to just learn from them. And it's really just a part of everyone's life. I don't want to say a part of working in the industry because it's a part of everything, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, I really relate and understand that. And I have so many stories of mistakes I've made in work and ones I've had to correct. I've probably told like a couple on this podcast already. But like the one that stands out, I think I've already said it in an episode, but it was the one where I put oh, okay, so it was like it's all about like hardware and antivirus, right? And I got sent to a firm to change their antivirus and do a few other things with the device. And I ended up installing a new antivirus on a device when there was already one there. And then the two antiviruses started clashing, and people's devices started crashing. And two of
Oh
the
no.
people whose their devices crashed, one of them was the CEO of the company, the founder, and the other one was the director. And both of their devices crashed, which is crazy. But it really wasn't my fault because I didn't have that instruction. I was very new to the industry. But this is just it's such a normal thing, right? Mistakes happen, and it's
Yeah,
all you can do is really learn from them. So thank you
for
so
sure.
much for that story. Yeah, and to move on into another question which I had for you. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about the content side of things. And I wanted to ask you about your content journey. And of course, I've been following it from the early stages, and for us, I feel like we're still in the early stages of this content journey, and who knows where we'll go. We're just documenting what we're doing, really.
For
Um,
sure.
and I wanted to just ask you about your content creation journey. What inspired you to create content, and also how have you found just creating and being a creator?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of similar interests. I noticed you went to see Ali Abdal live for the book. I have the book here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ali Abdal, big inspiration. But I've been making content since I was a teenager. I was like 16 or 15 making content. I used to make CS:GO videos, like clips and highlights. That channel's gone now, but I don't know. I just had this. I think I just had it in me. I felt like I had something else I could do, and I always like felt like the need to share my experiences just because I think other people can learn from them. And I wished when I was a child, I wish other people would share their mistakes so that I could not like I could avoid them or I could just do better. And yeah, I felt like uh, last year when I got those internships, a lot of people reached out to me and they were asking me questions about how I got the internship, and I felt like let's just put this out there. Maybe other people have this like the same questions. Maybe other people on the same journey. And I had a brother who was going through something similar, so I felt like if five people want to hear it, maybe dozens of others want to hear it too. And turns out thousands of others cared and they wanted to hear. So yeah, that's exactly how I started. My wife supported me the whole way because putting yourself out there, it's a risk. Employers, especially for future employers, that's one of my biggest like worries. If a company sees this and they're not going to like it, which there are definitely companies out there who probably won't like you splitting your time between work and content. But whatever it may be, I guess it helps filter out the choice for me. Maybe they're just not for me, those companies, or maybe in the future I do decide to pivot and focus on my full time work. But at this point in time, right now, I think the best thing I can do is help others who came or who are on a similar journey as I am. If they're looking to get to where I am currently, I think I can help them. Or if they want to get to a different path, maybe they can learn from the mistakes that I currently am making or I've made before. So yeah, that's kind of why I started, and I think for the near future at least, that's why I'll be continuing.
No way. There is just no way. Some of you guys have been watching this far and have not subscribed to the channel. Others have yet to even like the video. And for the people watching on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, some of you have not even rated the podcast. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you got any value, like, subscribe, and rate the podcast on whatever streaming platform. All right, let's get right back to the video. Amazing, amazing. And I can relate to everything you said. And first things first, yeah, really enjoy watching Ali Abdal videos. Got the book somewhere
Yeah.
on the shelf over there.
Yeah.
I love his videos and have just been following him for a while. So yeah, I really relate. And of course, you've seen that video, recent Day in the Life. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It was pretty cool. Got to ask him a question and speak to him, which is great. But yeah, I could say the same for me. Just putting out content to actually share my journey and help those who are on the same journey. And like I said, I posted that one video in COVID and just left it on the channel and had random people saying, "Oh wow, thank you so much for doing this." I was like, who's this? Who are you? And and from that I thought, okay, if this person values this thing, I have so much more that I've done that I can actually share to help others as well, which is what we both just keep on doing, which is amazing. But thanks so much, Ranesh, for all that you've shared on today's episode. Really appreciate you coming on here, and it's great to finally be able to like speak to you after seeing your videos for so long and following your journey.
Thank you, man. I think what you're doing here is amazing. Like I said before, high value. And as a viewer, if I had this a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, I'd probably be able to figure out what I want to do a lot sooner. A lot of less mistakes, a lot more tips from people who actually done it. So truly, thank you. And I think a lot of people who watch this will be appreciative too. So
Thanks so much, man. And before we end off, I wanted to just ask you if there's anything that you wanted to share, plug, or promote from your side.
well, yeah, I document my stuff on YouTube. It's Ranesh Group on everything. Uh, but I guess for those of you out there who are currently in a situation where you're deciding between two things, just start, just try it out, just do the thing. If you want to work as a software engineer, build an app, build a website, front end, build a website, back end, build an app, whatever it may be. Just do the thing, and then from there, learn from it, and it will help you decide if that's what you want to do in the future. Uh, yeah, that's I guess my message for those of you who are interested in progressing in the tech field. Just do the thing. Most likely, you'll be doing that in a company anyway. You can save yourself a lot of time if you try it out sooner, start sooner, and gain that experience.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks so much, Ranesh, and thank you to everyone for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.